Well, greetings. Hope everybody is having a lovely Monday. I am Lauren Rosen, and I'm waiting on Kelley Franke, and we're going to be doing an episode of Purely OCD today. So, without further ado, I think I have a request. Full steam ahead. Maybe? Yeah. Ah,
Hi.
choo choo.
It is
I said it
Toodle.
was full steam ahead,
Toodle is
Toodle.
in action today.
Yeah. Toodles in the house, man.
Welcome.
Welcome everybody to this week's episode of Purely
It's been
OCD.
a
We've
very
missed you all.
busy, eventful couple weeks, but we're glad to be
Hmm.
back. Hope everyone enjoyed maybe a break for a holiday. And Lauren and I
Yeah,
are both sick,
yeah,
so just
yeah. I'm just like one ball of snot, as it turns out. So
and
you're
I have
welcome for
COVID,
that.
so I'm a fucking mess. Welcome. Welcome to the
Woo-hoo!
shit show, everyone.
All right. We should do an episode on what it's like to have
What
OCD
it
when you're
is it
sick.
pisses me off. That's what it is.
Well,
Well,
sure, but I want to. Oh, I
it
want to hear
just
more. I feel
interrupts my
we've tapped in.
ability to execute of just everything. My
I love how we talk about ourselves like robots sometimes, right? Like failure to execute, cannot complete task,
I, I have
error,
clients, I have
error.
a friend. I
One. Just one. Do I get to pick which one?
shit like that. Like I have a life, COVID and sickness or whatever. You're
Yeah.
interrupting my stuff. Was gonna
Hello.
have a productive week.
Yeah. Yep. It's true. And I think, do you know what? I'm going to actually, I know we're not talking about this necessarily today, but just as an offshoot of this, I'm going to go ahead and say when you start to get like some sort of mentally foggy situation going on because you're not feeling 100%, and then you're trying to get all of the things done that you usually get done, and then you start to judge yourself for not being able to do them correctly or getting anxiety about like, oh, I'm never going to get this done, right? It's it's a special
Well, and then this
experience
time
is
of
what it
year, I
is.
feel like the universe is telling us something, Lauren. Hold on. It's coming. It's coming in.
Hold,
This time of year
wait.
is particularly difficult for therapists because people are struggling a little more now. So, um, makes
Mm,
our job that much more important, I think. And it's like, shit, like I have a
mm,
fever and I'm trying to
mm.
navigate that as like maybe I have to just slow down. That's the
Ooh,
universe.
yeah. No, but
It's not a
serious
fire.
though.
It's not a
Serious.
5 alarm fire that I have to open my mail this week or catch up on taxes or
Right. Right. And yet this time of year it's constant. It's so there's so many even exciting things,
yeah,
right, that
like
people
I
want to be
missed out
doing.
on
And
big things
so
this weekend, like the OCD SoCal event where you and Chris talked
yeah,
and we were supposed to run a fan. I couldn't go to that. Couldn't go to the party, the
yeah,
Saturday night party. Nope, that's out. But yeah,
yeah,
that transitions into
yeah.
what we were going to talk about, which was the perfectionism that,
Perfectionism
right, like
around this time of year,
gifts or,
trying
sorry,
to
go ahead.
decorating or yeah, well that's it. And the trying to
Mm-hmm.
accomplish everything, which we can't, right? We are only humans. And all of that pressure that we might put on ourselves to decorate everything perfectly or just so or just right or get the perfect gift or what have you, it can one be really difficult unto itself, but it can be hugely triggering for OCD, right? Like it can, that just the stress itself can sort of be a jumping off point for many who
Yep.
struggle with this
That's
disorder.
that's it. And then when you're sick, it's really great exposure.
Next level, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, how do we support people in this experience? I mean, we can certainly talk about some of our own lived experience, especially recently. And I think actually it's interesting, like the idea of slowing down that you brought up is so central, like being willing to take pause even when it feels really scary to take pause. Like you're
Right.
going to miss something, right? Like you're going to miss something
But you will
important, which
miss it
is
if you don't like,
so,
you are going to miss something in terms of emotional enjoyment and fulfillment if you don't pause, right? Like
yes.
you might not check all the
Yep.
boxes, but if you're
Yep.
constantly focused on checking the boxes and like getting the house right, cooking the right meal, or getting the right gift, or wrapping the gift perfectly, or making sure you make the right decisions on, well, even New Year's resolution stuff, right? That
Oh, yeah.
that
Yep.
you then lose track of why we're even doing it.
Right. Absolutely. That's the thing. And in many ways that's like a
Mm-hmm.
microcosm for the rest of OCD, right? Like we're so narrowly focused on we have to resolve this. We have to fix this that we miss out on everything else that's
Yeah.
going on in our lives.
A perfect example of this is when, if you ever have a child and you're saying, oh, let's make cookies together. And it's like you're
Mm.
going, oh shit, like
Oh.
this is not going well. Like this, the eggs are a mess. It's everywhere. You have to like explain things and like,
Yeah.
oh, don't do this. Oh, and like you can get so stressed out really easily that it's like, whoa, this
Yeah.
was not enjoyable, but at all. You have to accept it's going to be really messy and that the cookies might not turn out the way you want them to, and they're going to just grab stuff and make a mess, and that if you don't go into that mindset, then it's a miserable experience and your child and you both won't enjoy it. So I don't know,
Yeah.
that's the first thing that came to
Yeah.
my
So
mind, like
I know
the
it's like
expectation.
a perfect example. Yeah. The expectation and then the holding on tight, like trying to get it back to that expectation. Like it needs to be this way. And if it's not this way, it's not going to be okay. Well, that's making the whole
Yeah,
thing
it's
not
a whole
okay.
self-fulfilling prophecy like OCD does.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sucker. Yeah. So what do we do? Well, accepting, right, whatever's going on right now. And, we started this conversation today talking about the fact that we're both sick and even the tendency to resist the sickness or the fact that it's somehow difficult to access even intelligence
Right.
or
It's
or your voice or that.
right, or interrupting your
Pardon me.
ability to
um
just, yeah, yeah, all of it.
but how much of that, to your point earlier, is about the expectation that we place on what should be going on, which I should be able to get this, and this done because that was my expectation
Right.
last week when I wasn't sick, right? Um, so instead of resisting everything going sort of off course, can we kind of just
Right.
go off course with it? Can we just let
Is
it
it really that
let it go off the
important to
rails?
stay on the rails, you know?
No,
Not at all.
I don't think so. In fact, did I ever share on here? I don't know if I ever shared
I
my
can
birthday gift with
show
you
it to
last
them.
year.
Hold on.
Did I?
Yeah, of course I do.
Oh my God, do you have it? Um, so, um, So last year, for those of you who have been with us for any length of time, you may recall the story of Tootle. And Tootle was a locomotive, a small sort of think that book. I think I can, right? Like that's Tootle. Tootle was a locomotive, and he was learning how to be a good locomotive like all the other locomotives, but then he kept going off the rails. And it was really sad because they kept telling Tootle to go back on the rails. But that's a
Off the
picture
rails.
of Tootle off the rails. And look how happy he is. If you're not watching this, you're not going to see, but he's very happy. He's smiling. There are butterflies.
Sun.
It's grass. It's beautiful. Sun. And then, of course, as the book progresses, he becomes horribly oppressed and gets back on the rails, and that's the end of the story. But I got the book and I cut out the picture of Tootle for Kelley that says like,
Yeah.
and Tootle went off the rails and he was frolicking in the tulips, as a reminder that like, can we just go with the fact that sometimes life goes off the rails and accept that and be open to that. And that's what it is to accept that like the cookies aren't going to turn out perfectly. And maybe when you take them over to your neighbors, the frosting
Or
is
there
going to
may
look a
be
mess.
like a
you know what I'm
chunk
saying?
of
Like a
egg
mess.
shell. But
Somewhere.
did you enjoy the
Surprise.
process, when you notice yourself kind of letting go of control and more of like focusing on the type of person you want to be in moments like that, is
Yeah.
a much better place to come from versus, I know I personally get really hung up on the holidays of wanting it to be perfect for my child, and the Pinterest and all, it's a landmine of things of like, it's just not helpful.
Yeah. I've often wondered how many people actually like their homes look like they look on Pinterest, like even the rooms and stuff. Like how many people does it take to actually
I'm pretty
keep
sure
that
your
up, right?
mom's
Like don't you
house
have?
looks
I
like
think
that.
I'd need a full-time staff.
All right.
That's
Because
really fair.
Genevieve has been to that house and she's been like, I want all that bedding stuff. And I'm like, okay, that's great. Me
Oh,
too.
cool. In fairness, and also inside tip, Kelley refers to my
Yes.
mother's backyard as the secret garden,
It's
which is,
beautiful.
I mean, it's beautiful
Beautiful.
back there. It's
But
very
yeah, in
peaceful and
reality,
lovely.
somebody who's,
So,
working full time and uh, trying to run a life and a social life, if there is one of those, and have anxiety.
a
There's
friend.
a few, but yeah. And have a family and all that, like it's not gonna likely happen. And if it does, at what cost, right? Like it's like, okay, if those houses really look like that, I want to know what they're like. I want to meet these people. Are they strung out?
I mean, unless they have a full-time
And they
staff
don't,
that is constant,
right?
like, no,
So,
then
or
no,
they're
they
very
don't.
stressed out.
I don't think. Or maybe that's their full-time job, right? Like they're like showing people organizational tips or something,
Right.
and that's what they do. But I mean, by and large, I think that that's an unrealistic expectation to set of yourself. And like, if we link this all back to like to OCD, which we've been talking about how it relates to OCD, but just to draw the clear link here is that the tendency to want to get everything, and it's different depending on what iteration or how OCD affects you, but like want everything to be just right or else, or it's going to feel forever nagging, uncomfortable, off, right? Like one thing this time of year that comes up a lot is the tendency for people to call OCD or use OCD as like obsessive Christmas disorder on sweaters at Target.
Is it at Target?
It has been historically, I think. Sorry, Target. Like I don't mean to call you out. Maybe Target didn't do it, but
okay.
but like but the idea, right, like people have all of these misconceptions about OCD being really focused on like organization and cleanliness and all of that. And it can be, but it's not a preference. It's not like, ooh, I like things neat and tidy. It's if I don't get this neat and tidy, this is
It's so
earth
uncomfortable.
shattering.
Yeah, like the the
It's
Pinterest thing, by the way,
so
it's not like I am genuinely very uncomfortable if the house doesn't look a certain way.
no,
It
no, and
doesn't
like
feel
if
good.
or and it's not even the primary
Right,
iteration of
right, right, right.
how OCD manifests for me, but like, and I've said this on here before, I know that things are starting to get a little bit spicy when all of a sudden I look in a drawer and the drawer is not organized and I
Yeah,
start to feel it in my stomach. I'm like,
it's
ooh,
control.
like
Yeah.
that, yes. And in some cases we might even see it as a manifestation of social anxiety, right? What are they going to think of me? What's the world going to think of me? Or like or an emotional contamination thing, like I'm with an OCD of like it's off and I'm off, and then life won't be good, and then all life will be imperfect, and what are we going to do, right? Which doesn't sound on its face to be very scary, but I think for people
Well,
who are in the throes
right.
of it, it really is.
For me, I don't have people over at my house, so that doesn't happen. However, I
That's true.
do think
Sometimes
it.
I get to come over.
It's true. Sometimes I let Lauren come over. She's the only one who may pass a little bit.
Are you a troll? What's
But
happening?
the thing is, I think mine does pull from my primary obsession, which is my child. Is like you got to give her the most perfect experience, you know. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
Not socially, but that.
Yeah.
And it's not like I'm gonna go into your house and like open your drawers and be like, Lauren, get your shit together, man. Yeah, like
This
what's
is
going on?
dank. What
But
is happening?
also the perfectionism can come up a lot with people who are obsessing on obsessing. So, right, like there's holidays coming up.
Mm-hmm.
I should feel a specific way. And that includes not having OCD. Like that includes having a perfect day. My
Right.
emotions are great. No intrusive thoughts. Well, that's not going to happen.
It's a really bad recipe for inviting all of the intrusive thoughts, as it turns out, if you
Right.
push them away, as we've talked about so many times. But yeah, no, it's another solid way. Like it does show up. And so learning how to say,
Yeah.
hey, maybe it will show up. Maybe that's going to be part of my day. Can I open up toward that? Can I go off the rails? Can I go off script a little bit and make space for the fact that like the thoughts are going to be here?
Yeah.
In terms of one like kind of just an interesting theorizing, speaking of off the rails, but I think when we talk about the sort of wanting everything in the right place, like some of the more sort of stereotypical manifestations of OCD, I tend to think of other forms as reflective of that in a way, but it's almost like I'm trying to
Yeah.
sort things mentally so that everything's in its right
Correct.
place there. Like and if something's not settled, if something's uncertain or yeah, unclear, that's gonna bring that up. But if something is like out of place,
Yeah.
it's going to be brought up in the sort of context of home and organization, and even stupid things like, are my
Ugh.
computer files in the right spot, right? Like,
Yeah.
what? Oh, do I have like excessive computer files? We're back to robot now. Must
Must
destroy.
eliminate. Exactly.
Eliminate. Yeah. No, I do think that element of trying to get to a point where you don't have any thoughts is so prevalent this time of year that like, could I just make sure that I don't have that obsession, or can I do my exposure homework just right so that I
Yeah.
don't have my thoughts, or that I don't have anxiety that lasts longer than it needs to, or what have you. And it is really down to just like, can we accept all human
Right.
experiences? Can we accept that the bathroom drawers are just, they're a
They are,
mess?
and
They
that's
really are.
okay.
They
And
are.
it's okay to be a mess. I mean, holidays are it's setting a realistic expectation. I think that's what it comes down to for that, for holidays. And also
Yeah.
this general idea of like, this is really normal to think that this is like it would make sense that people want things to be in their control. It's really, that's just human behavior, but it's false
Mm-hmm.
control, and that it's okay. We don't need to judge ourselves. Most people who have anxiety and OCD do this, and I think on some degree just the general population too. Yeah.
Of course. Totally. So understandable that we would want some semblance of control. It feels really nice to check things off of a to-do list and to have things in a certain way. And sometimes there's so much unknown in this world that it's a nice
Yeah,
self-soothing almost.
exactly. Exactly.
But it's got teeth, man. So it's a trap.
Yeah.
It's a trap for anyone watching. We do have some questions. Do we have time for, because we
I
started
don't know if we have time
15,
because we're
or
doing another
no?
podcast at 1.
That's right. That is right. I thought it was at 1:30. Why
Shoot,
did I think it was
I
at
don't
1:30?
think so.
Dang. Okay. Sorry guys, we didn't get a chance to answer any of your
Let me just
questions
double check.
because
Um, yeah, I have it down for 1.
okay.
Yeah,
Well, there is
let's
one.
do
Can
it.
we throw
Let's do
in
it.
one
Of
question? Because like I
course,
just
of
want to make
course.
sure. Um, I just somebody wrote, does perfectionism or the need for everything to seem perfect have to relate to a bad consequence occurring if things are not perfect, or can it simply be due to a feeling of unease? Which actually, in
Yeah.
effect, I think we answered. That no, it doesn't have to. Sometimes it does have, for some people, have to do with like if my, going back to my poor bathroom drawers, if they're not organized, then I'm gonna, uh, then people are gonna die, right? Like
Right.
that's possible, but it's um, not the only way, for sure. It could just be that like it's off, it's nagging, and that feeling is gonna take me out of these moments, and I can't have
Mm-hmm.
that, so I have to fix this feeling. But then you get so caught up in fixing the feeling that you miss the
Yeah.
moments anyway.
So enjoy. This is complicated. Enjoy the experience that's positive when you have it, but don't grip too tightly on that. And then
Yeah.
allow yourself to
Yep.
feel allow yourself to feel negative experiences
It
and
is.
your emotions to be just all over the place, and to be nice to yourself in that process. Just be imperfect,
Yeah.
because that's the reality. You can't be anything other than that.
Heck, if we weren't willing to be
Yeah, we
imperfect,
wouldn't
we'd
be
never
here.
show up, right?
No.
Certainly not today with our
Hmm? We're
illness.
here.
So,
Okay.
right. All right. Well, yeah, we're not going to be in next week. Maybe the following, I'm not sure, but certainly we'll hopefully rev things back up in the new year.
Yeah.
And
Thank
thanks as
you.
always for being here,
All
gang.
right. Bye.
All right.